Hello and a very warm welcome back to the channel. It has been a packed week for electric vehicle news, from ferocious fires to ever-changing, shocking government policies. Here's the top news to get you up to speed. So we open on what can only be described as a barrage of fires. Here's the first. Family narrowly escapes after electric vehicle explodes in their village driveway. A Northamptonshire family were forced to grab their newborn puppies and flee their home when their electric vehicle exploded without warning, several hours after parking up outside their village home. Georgina Bayliss, 49, and her husband Scott, 47, were getting ready for an early night when they were alerted by their eldest son, James, 17, who had heard a loud explosion and spotted flames from his first floor bedroom. So they were obviously some height. Yeah, there you go. 20-foot flames had engulfed the driveway and the entire front of the Spratton home. The family were forced to escape out the back of their house and run for their lives, with villagers quickly flocking to help. Georgina said it all happened in seconds. We were lucky to have got out safely, for our house to still be standing and to all be here in one piece. When we saw the flames, we grabbed the puppies, ran out the back door. Scott grabbed one hose pipe, our son James a second, and our neighbour did the same. Community spirit right there. We all wanted to stop the fire from ripping through our home. That'll be the last of EVs in this street. The next thing I saw was our youngest son Adam, who had a job at the local pub, running up the lane towards our house. The look on his face was something that will haunt me forever. He thought we were still inside. Scott added, "We're in shock. People keep telling us how lucky we are, but it doesn't feel like that. The car had been parked up since 11:30 a.m. that morning. It wasn't charging, therefore there was no sign of anything wrong. And then within seconds, we're grabbing our Labrador and our 4 puppies and racing out the back of the house to safety." Terrifying. Scott and son James used hose pipes to try and contain the flames ahead of the arrival of 2 fire engines with a full crew. It's been 2 weeks since the explosion, and for now, the Bayliss family are still grappling with anxiety and shock. Neighbour Annie Gilbride, a primary school assistant, said the explosion rang through the village, and very quickly people were running down High Street to see what had happened. I pulled on my dressing gown, grabbed the garden hosepipe and passed it to the neighbour to help. We took the puppies, who are only a few weeks old, inside to escape the noise, heat and smoke, and my husband helped to clear the street and usher people away from danger. And the smoke, that's what a lot of people don't realise, that is so extremely toxic. We joined Scott to try and keep the flames under control while they waited for the fire crew. It's amazing, no one was hurt and further properties weren't destroyed. Scott added, "The firefighters told us we were a few minutes from losing our home. They eventually decided the safest option was to drag the car down the driveway using the fire engine due to fear of constant reignition." Because we know that's another point with these EVs. Although you've extinguished it, it could reignite at any time. Some of them 2 weeks later, laying in breakers' yards. That's why they need to space them apart like they do. Anyway, this was a fear that didn't leave us until someone could be found who is prepared to recover such a dangerous vehicle. And that's also getting tricky. Even getting recovery drivers to come and take these things away once they've been on fire, extremely difficult. We want to know how and why this has happened. We don't want anyone else to go through this. Our car was less than 2 years old, had covered less than 28,000 miles, wasn't on charge, and seemingly explosively combusted all by itself. Investigations need to be done. Yes, extremely lucky not to have any fatalities here and still have a house standing, albeit maybe a bit fire scorched. I was talking just this last week to a friend of a friend who mentioned that his house insurance premium had gone up quite significantly as a result of having an EV and charging it in the driveway. Here's the thing, we're forever being told that these are so much less likely to catch fire than your usual petrol or diesel car, so shouldn't that result in lower insurance premiums? And I'm going to diverge from the news for just a moment to show you this really rather interesting study. So this was carried out by the Korean Insurance Development Institute, and according to them, the number of fire and explosion incidents involving EVs has been higher than that of the internal combustion engine vehicles over the past 5 years. What's interesting about that is that goes directly against the narrative that we constantly see, that usual combustion engine cars are so much more likely to start fires. EVs had a 0.93 incident per 10,000 vehicles, while non-EVs had a lower rate of 0.90 incidents. Food for thought. Next, a fire right here in Scotland. In Aberdeen, man shocked as electric car suddenly bursts into flames in driveway. Now again, similar story. A man has spoken of his shock after his electric vehicle suddenly burst into flames in his driveway as he returned home from a walk. Derek Leslie had just walked through the rear gate of his home in Auchmill Terrace in Aberdeen on Sunday, October 6th, when he heard a noise coming from his red Vauxhall Corsa. The 64-year-old noticed smoke billowing from under the 2.5-year-old car located close to the battery. Something else to think about as well. Sorry for diverging here, but as these things get older, I mean, we're looking at 2-year-old cars here, and we're seeing this. What's it going to be like when these things are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old? Anyway, back to this. Mr. Leslie told STV News it was so quick. I was just out walking the dog. The car is parked at the back gate. When I went into the back gate, I just heard this bang. I thought someone had thrown something at the car. Then I saw the smoke billow out from underneath the car where the battery is. Oh, look at it. So obviously I can right up that bulkhead there and hit some of the stuff under the bonnet as well. I called 999 and luckily the station is only 5 minutes away. It could have been a lot worse. I could have been stuck in traffic or anything. It's just lucky I got home when I did, because it could have been completely up in flames beside the house. Images taken of the car show fire bursting from the bottom of the vehicle before emergency services arrived at the scene. Scottish Fire and Rescue dispatched 4 crews to the scene who extinguished the blaze. Images of the aftermath show the destroyed interior of the car and what appears to be a battery completely melted. What gets me here is the lack of any initiating factor whatsoever. I mean, it's not charging, it's not driving, it's not doing anything. If you crashed your car, EV or regular petrol or diesel car, okay, there's a case, there's an initiating factor as to what would cause a fire, but it's all the more sinister that it could just be sat there, doing nothing, no warning, and boom, explodes on fire. Final fire story for today, and this is pretty much breaking news. It only happened last night. 9 electric buses destroyed by suspected lithium battery fire in Taichung City. So 9 electric buses destroyed by a fire in a parking lot in Taichung City in the early hours of this morning, Monday, October 21st. The Taichung City Fire Department received reports of buses on fire at a parking lot on Jing Street in the Beitun district around 2 a.m. A total of 21 fire trucks and 46 personnel were dispatched to battle the blaze. Firefighters said the fire was fierce due to the lithium-ion batteries. The fire was brought under control around 3:30 a.m. and finally extinguished around 4:10 a.m. A total of 9 buses were destroyed, but no casualties were reported. According to preliminary investigations, no suspicious persons were seen on surveillance cameras, and it is suspected that the cause may have been an electric fault in the battery. So there is a bit of a footnote to add on to this story, so get a load of this. According to the ESTN report, the buses were some of 50 belonging to the Saifang Electric Bus Company. The company went out of business in October 2023, owing wages to its drivers, which still haven't been paid. The buses have all been mortgaged to banks. Sounds a little bit like an insurance job, if you ask me. I'm not going to speculate too much on it, but the point is still there. The environmental toll is still taken, and the deadly fires have still had to be extinguished by these firefighters going in and risking their lives. So the final story we're going to cover today is this. Rachel Reeves considers scrapping tax breaks for high earners buying electric cars. So Rachel Reeves, Chancellor of the Exchequer here in the UK, is exploring plans to remove unfair schemes amid claims they disproportionately benefit the wealthy. Now this is one I'd love to hear your thoughts on. So Rachel Reeves is considering scrapping unfair tax breaks for workers who buy electric cars amid claims that they disproportionately benefit the wealthy. The Chancellor is understood to be looking at plans to either scrap or modify the workplace salary sacrifice schemes that is used by tens of thousands of drivers every year to lease new electric vehicles. The schemes, where monthly instalments are taken from employee pay packets before income tax and national insurance are deducted, are credited with propping up EV sales at a time when demand for new cars has suffered a slowdown. Officials from the Treasury are understood to have discussed the financial impact of the salary sacrifice schemes with members of the British car industry in August. Civil servants have also suggested abolishing the schemes to Miss Reeves and her predecessors ahead of the previous budget, as a way of saving the Treasury up to £100 million, the Telegraph understands. The Resolution Foundation on Thursday called for salary sacrifice and company car tax breaks to be axed, arguing that they only benefit, quote, a relatively small number of better off households who buy new cars. Ahead of her first budget on October 30th, Miss Reeves has warned that those with the broadest shoulders will be bearing the largest burden, suggesting that the government is preparing for a tax raid on higher earners. However, car industry bosses warned that removing salary sacrifice tax relief would deal a hammer blow to the shift to EVs at a time when ministers are trying to encourage uptake. James Court, Chief Exec of Electric Vehicle Association, said salary sacrifice is one government policy remaining that helps working people bridge the upfront cost of EVs. Here's the thing though, it's not just working class people. I personally know individuals who earn over £120,000 and they use this scheme to purchase new Porsche Taycans, new Teslas and so on. And if that's the car that they want to purchase with their own money, absolutely go ahead. However, using tax breaks to do it, is it right? As I say, I want to hear your thoughts on it. If this is removed, the one thing I will say is it will certainly make the SMMT figures read a lot more clearly. It'll give us a real idea what's happening in that private market without fleet purchases and tax relief purchases being added in. But if, like me, you're going to be buying used cars for some time, here is a service worthy of your consideration on your next buy. Vehicle Score. Put the plate of the car that you're thinking about into their system. It'll tell you the good and bad points for completely free. But if you are serious about buying it, make sure you buy one of their paid HPI reports for a full history report on it. I'll add a 15% discount voucher and link in the description below. But as ever, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you for the next one.